told to. Even after being told to, they're going to find ways to get out around this. It is going to be about funding our Department of Labor so that it is well-resourced, so it can have real enforcement mechanisms. And it's going to be about making sure that they pay, staying on top of them, organizing around it, make sure the drivers know their rights too. Because these corporations, they never do the right thing.
Starting with Ms. Valdez, what is one bill that was introduced in the past year, whether or not it was passed by the legislature, that you wish you had introduced?
What an excellent question. Wow. I mean, I already talked about it a little bit, but I'm going to have to say the Social Housing Development Authority again, green social housing. So it is a really, I think, transformative piece of legislation introduced by Assembly Member Emily Gallagher that would create a statewide authority tasked with creating more social housing. So you can think Michelle Lama, you can think Co-op City. It would empower the state to either rehabilitate social housing that has fallen into disrepair, to help tenants take over their building if their landlord is going to sell, to build social housing. And there's a real emphasis on union labor too. So I think that's really exciting. That would empower union labor to build the housing, to maintain the housing for the long term. And it takes power away from real estate, right? We're relied on real estate to do the right thing. To create enough affordable housing, and obviously this has been insufficient for years and years. So a social housing development authority would put the power back into the state's hands, into our hands, and tenants' hands to develop the kind of housing that people really need for the long term. Permanently affordable, insulated from market forces, and democratically managed by the people who actually live in it. And I think this is really transformative, a really ambitious and exciting piece of legislation, and a path forward for creating sustainable lives for working families across New York State.
So bills that passed?
Or it didn't have to be passed, just introduced in the past year that you wish you had introduced yourself.
There were thousands of bills, but I actually just read recently a bill, I think it was Alex Flores that had introduced it. It had to do with more gun control. I believe it was a part of the smart guns, and I think right now, one of the biggest things that we are dealing with, even when it comes to criminal justice, is, for example, we're not going to the root of the problem. I'm gonna add to this, not only do we need to be funding educational and programs for young adults, but in addition to that, into funding mental health. But also, there's also a highlight on, for example, ghost guns and how they're being brought up through the iron pipeline. We've seen unfortunately, a lot of innocent people being killed through these guns, and I think pushing legislation with stricter gun laws and seeing how to go about through safety, I think is a priority, and I think it would have been a great bill to have been working on with him as well.
Thanks. Okay, we're gonna take a quick pause here. I think there's something happening with the live stream. But yeah, we'll take a quick pause here, and then we're gonna do a couple rapid fire questions. So if you have filled out a sheet with a question on it, Mark's gonna come by and collect that. Just hold it up if you have.
Anybody else?
Let me record the audience. People record the elected officials, but they don't record the audience. The audience is the most important part of the debates. They're here, they want to be educated. These are the voters of Sunnyside. These are the people that decide Sunnyside elections. Without them, there is no candidates. I have to say thank you all for coming today. You decide the election. The debate is going to resume in just a few seconds. And
without technical difficulty. So very quickly,
Jacob and I thought it would be really fun to do some rapid fire questions for each of you to go through. You will each have 10 seconds to answer these questions. So this first one will be directed at Ms. Carmona, or Ms. Carmona, you will be answering first. So, Mark, are you ready? What is your favorite restaurant in the district?
Oh, that's horrible. You can't do this to me. There's so many. I'm gonna give a shout out to Benjenko because they posted me so many times that I love their food, but there are just so many, and I'm like, honestly, to the people in the community, it depends on what cuisine it is, because we have everything from Bello, Alpo, we have Spicy Nepal, we have Turkish Kitchen, we have so many great restaurants, it's so hard to pick, so I'm sorry, yeah.
All right. Valdez.
I'm gonna go Joe's on Forest if you want a full meal. If you're just hungover and you eat something in the morning, Mount Everest Cafe on Myrtle.
All right. Keep the mic. Favorite park in the district?
Grover Cleveland. Beautiful view of the city, wonderful playgrounds, great vibes.
Right next to the cemetery.
What's your point?
Well, I'm biased. I grew up in going to Noonan, so 42nd and 47th Avenue Park. I've seen it from when it was just all pure concrete, and we've seen it develop. Now we have a dog park, so shout out to all like the creating of dog parks. But yeah, that would be my go-to.
All right. Keep the mic. What's your favorite mode of transportation in the district?
The 7 train.
Okay. All right.
I'm gonna give it to the Q39. It's a love-hate relationship for sure, but once you're on it, it's smooth sailing.
What's something in the district where every time you see it, like it frustrates you, you wish you could change it?
The Q39. and the M train. A lot of love for my M train, but my gosh, like on the weekends, holidays, at night, it's rough. Public transit. We can fix it.
The lack of elevators when it comes to transportation, it really is like anytime I see that, and even when I'm seeing like people that I know in this community, seniors and people with disabilities, that they can't take the train and they have to rely on other sources which are not reliable. I think that is the most frustrating thing every time I'm getting on the train or I'm looking at the 7 line. I think that's my biggest frustration.
All right, the last one of these rapid fire questions. What's something that people may not know about you?
That's like the icebreaker for every college. I was like, everyone knows that I'm a twin. But in addition to that, I think one of what people don't know about me, I'm very open. Because of my sister, I really enjoy going to different art galleries and different museums because she opened that aspect to me when it came to the arts.
Okay. So.
Oh, she didn't know.
Oh my gosh. Sorry.
I almost got to divulge my top secret. I'm a gardener, not a very successful one, especially this year, but every year I try and make a little goth garden and grow exclusively black plants, and that's my fun little summer hobby.
All right. So sort of, kind of in a similar vein to that last one, we're out of the rapid fire now, back into the regular questions, like 2 minutes to answer. What is a policy position on an issue or a bill that may have been passed in recent years that you think might surprise voters? Like a policy position you think that maybe doesn't align with, that just might surprise voters. Or are you both very predictable?
I think I'm pretty predictable, unfortunately. Man, I'm trying to think. I mean, my guiding lights really are our public institutions are public goods, and they have to be fully funded, they have to be accessible to all, and, working people can do anything if they're given the resources to do it. And so that guides all of my kind of political thinking and policy thinking. And, my policy positions are pretty consistent with that, I think. I wish I had a spicier answer for you, unfortunately, but I'm pretty predictable and pretty boring. I hope that's not a dodge. I just don't think I can think of anything.
I think I agree. I would say I would have a similar answer. I think that even as a former prosecutor, I was supportive of the bail reform, and that was because of me experiencing and watching people who couldn't, like, if we both committed the same crime and then you have the money and you can get out, and then all of a sudden, like someone like myself, if I don't have the money, then I have to go to Rikers. I saw that injustice, and I think immediately people, the moment they heard I was a former prosecutor, and specifically I would always explain special victims' rights in sex crimes and child abuse, I think a lot of people were kind of like tilted when they were like, oh, she's for it. But I'm like, yes, absolutely, because we do, justice comes with equity and making sure that we are respecting people's civil liberties and also following, of course, the law. But I think that might have been what some people might have been shocked with, but.
Thank you.
All right. So, I'll start the question by saying that it may initially sound like it is geared towards one candidate, but we are actually asking both candidates to answer this question. So, Ms. Carmona, you will be answering this question first. Ms. Valdez, you criticized Ms. Carmona's campaign for a number of donations that it has taken, including those from donors who's described as, quote, billionaires, real estate, Wall Street, charter schools, and corporate PACs and lobbyists. But you've also brought in and spent a significant amount of money in this election yourself. So for both of you, what role do you see money playing in this race? Ms. Carmona, you have two.
So I'm glad you asked that question because it gives an opportunity to explain. So when just growing up, when my mother suffered a stroke, she was taken to St. John's Hospital. She was there for 6 months in a coma, then moved to Boston where they performed surgeries on her. From there, she moved to Staten Island Rehab Center, where she was there for over a year. Now, during this time, my father, as a single parent, juggling twin girls, in addition to that, making ends meet, knowing how much we didn't know if we could afford rent, how much food we were gonna have. I remember him dragging us to Jamaica, where we made wines for pantries, and it was just honest work. And for me, seeing that and then doing what I've gone into as an attorney, but also as a volunteer and as someone in the community, I don't take money lightly. So when I got into this campaign, my opponent had already raised $60,000. I have now spent hundreds of hours trying to raise money. But in addition to that, when you first start raising money, you go and you tap into your network. And my network consists of working families, lower incomes, as well as public servants. So I don't have friends that are trust fund babies. I don't have friends when it comes to millionaires. I don't have friends that are millionaires. Now, with that being said, also, these campaigns cost between $150,000 to $200,000. Now, as a woman, a minority woman, asking for money is very, very difficult. Raising money is very, very difficult. And when raising this money is the only way I can run a very good campaign, but also get my message heard. And in no way, shape, or form am I bought or in anyone's pocket. I will say this because this is, as you see, my experience, and I look even here as my father, I cannot sell out a community that has taken care of me so much.
From the beginning of this campaign, I wanted this to be a small dollar operation. Our average donation is $43. We've raised money from over, I think, 1,200 individual contributors. We have, I think, close to 200 in-district donors. We've maxed out the state matching fund program, which I'm very proud of. We've been very dedicated in organizing in-district donations because it's a show of support from the community. I also don't have Wall Street or trust fund friends. I sorely wish I did because it would make my call time a lot easier than chasing down $5, $10 donations. I have been organizing in electoral politics for a long time as a volunteer, and over and over and over again, what I hear from people at the doors is that they do not feel that they have a place in politics. They don't feel that they are part of the political process, and they feel that way because they know that hedge fund managers, venture capitalists, real estate developers are spending tens of thousands of dollars in these races, and that their vote is going to be overshadowed by that money. This campaign has never taken that money, and this is not about virtue signaling, it's not about purity, it's about power. It's about being able to go to negotiate housing and not have a revenue check hanging over your head. It's about being able to fight for public school education funding and not have charter school money hanging over your head. This is about funding a different kind of a political vision for what Queens can be, and it is about working families, it is about people organizing their neighbors, people talking to each other about the issues that matter to them, and we can make that happen. This campaign has raised a lot of money and has raised a lot of small dollar donations, and we've been so intentional about doing that and making sure that the values of our donors reflect the values of this campaign, because that is the belief and that's the power that's going to help us win transformative legislation in Albany. It's going to bring real things back to our districts that we need, and it's going to change the political status quo.
Thank you. Okay, so these next two questions we're going to ask, they're going to be addressed directly to one candidate. The candidate that the question is addressed to, you're going to have the usual 2 minutes to respond, and then the candidate who was not asked the question will be given 30 seconds to respond if they'd like to. I'll leave it to both your discretion. Okay, so to Ms. Valdez, your political experience is mostly outside of the district. You've spoken, well, we've spoken about this already, as an organizer, and while you're not from the area, as you said, you've lived here 5-ish years, what would you say to voters who might doubt your ability to sort of understand their experience?
Yeah, it's true. I came to New York City for work, like so many other people have. I came here for a better life and to live in a city that reflected my values and my politics. And Richmond is my home. I feel incredibly fortunate that I've been able to put down some roots, that I've been able to stay in the same apartment, that my landlord hasn't jacked up my rent. I'm fighting for a New York and a Queens where you don't have to get lucky to be able to do that, to be able to have community, to be able to stay in one place, to be able to imagine a long-term life in your home. I'm a union organizer. I have fought alongside my union siblings in UAW across different unions to demand a better world, to imagine a world where we have the basic public entitlements that we deserve, not just to kind of scrape by, but to live full and meaningful lives. And that's hard work. If you organize in unions, you know it is difficult. Building trust is hard. Organizing across really vast political differences is hard. It's unglamorous. But it's really important and something that I'm incredibly dedicated to and have been dedicated to as a unit chair of my shop, on my joint council, on my bargaining committee, and fighting in solidarity with union members across many different industries. Those are the skills that I want to take to Albany. Those are the principles that I want to take to Albany. AD37 is an incredibly progressive district. We are represented by progressive state senators across the board. We can have a progressive assembly person too who has a big vision for what we can achieve together. And the organizing chops to actually fight for those things in Albany and organize for them. Because like I said before, it's not sufficient just to vote the right way. We need force multipliers in Albany to really demand the transformative legislation that is going to address the housing crisis, the climate crisis, and so many other everyday catastrophes that working people are enduring and facing every day.
Would you like 30 seconds to respond?
First of all, this also, just to highlight something, this campaign has not received a check from Remedy and is not receiving any charter school money. So just to make that clear. I think that it is very important for the people in the district to feel comfortable with who they're electing, but also comfortable with someone that they know is from the community. I think that has been highlighted throughout the doors that we're knocking. I think the fact that a lot of people here in this room in itself have known me since I was a child, but I think that a lot of people in this district, that has been their prerogative, which is being able to trust someone because they know where they come from, how they behave.
Carmela, could you very quickly clarify, you say that, there's been charter money, that your campaign has taken, I know that, I'm blanking on her first name, I apologize to her, but, former Mayor Bloomberg's daughter was someone.
Emma Bloomberg.
Thank you. Emma Bloomberg was someone who donated to your campaign, and she has very strong ties to charter. I mean, that's her whole thing. And so I guess I'm wondering, what, if she is someone who donated to you, what do you mean when you say it's
I'm gonna talk about it as strictly from like charter school PACs for, I believe it's like Children's First, we've helped, but there's several PACs that I know are with charter school, and this is something that, because I am very, passionate about our public school education. Like I mentioned before, we have the endorsement of UFT CSA as well as NYS, and making sure that we are focusing on the public schools here in the district, funding them, making sure we have 3K, pre-K, and kindergarten available to the toddlers, as well as making sure that we have our middle schools that are funded. Thank you.
All right. So, Ms. Carmona, this question will be directed to you. So, I think most people in this room know that you ran for this seat 2 years ago. And some voters may show up to the polls on election day and see your name again and say, why should I vote for this person the second time around if I didn't vote for them before? So, why should voters who didn't cast a ballot for you 2 years ago do so now?
I think with the first campaign, what was difficult was making sure I got out, my messaging got out, that I was actually, this, for example, like right now the team that I have is nothing in comparison to the team that I had before. I realize how important it is to raise money, and we've been very lucky now that we have state matching funds, which has been very big in the portion of our raising of money. But I think I also came in way later last time when we were running back in 2022. I think it was more of like, I was also running against Brent O'Leary and Jim McGee. I think that now that I've been able to establish a bit of a stronger campaign, meaning finance, but as well as getting more volunteers who then became so excited about this campaign, and even getting to know me in the 2 years and seeing me out and about in the community, because when I did not win, I did not stop being proactive. That was something that I made sure, because that no matter what, this is my community and I will always be giving time and I will always be listening. So I think now, that conversation, that has completely changed.
Ms. Valdez, would you like to respond for 30 seconds?
Sure. Since we brought up 2022, I do want to point out that my opponent did take money from me in 2022. My opponent did take several $1,000s from charter school PACs in 2022. And so maybe that hasn't appeared in the filing yet. We'll see what happens by the end of June, but it's publicly available information, and it powered her campaign the last cycle.
Thank you. Okay, we're gonna get into some audience questions. I'm looking through them now.
I'll start by saying that we don't know who asked this question, and we don't know who asked any of these questions. Thank you very much for everyone who submitted questions. There's a lot to go through here. This first question, the community of Blissville in Long Island City has suffered from environmental injustice for a century. And today, we even have a facility operating in violation of state pollution law. I do not know what facility is being referred to. How will you bring about environmental justice in Blissville and the communities adjacent to Newtown Creek? The question is for both of you.
We can start.
Ms. Valdez, you just answered. So yes, you should go. Yes, Ms. Valdez, you should go.
Thanks for this question. I would work really closely with the community of Blissville to figure out solutions. I think that's one of the most important things. We do need to remediate Newtown Creek. It's been a Superfund site for far too long, and I know the Newtown Creek Alliance has been working on this as well. One of the really exciting bills that was passed, I think last cycle, was the Build Public Renewables Act. We need to be really serious about tackling climate change, and BPRA was a transformative piece of legislation, Green New Deal legislation, that's leading the United States in terms of labor protections, but also in terms of building out publicly owned renewable energy. And so part of what I think is so important is fighting to make sure that that's implemented to the fullest extent, the spirit of the law. Governor Hochul has at many times tried to slow walk it, has allowed the NYPA president, Justin Driscoll, to be appointed over much consternation from many state senators. We need real leadership on this, real climate action to address the root causes of climate change and to help defend our communities that are at risk of sea level rise, constant flooding, and all kinds of other environmental detriments.
So we've all gone, I've visited with the Blissville Association, I've been to Blissville, there are a couple of Blissville residents here. In addition to that, I have done the walkthrough with Newtown Creek Alliance. I've also spoken to Hunters Point Conservancy and seeing what they're actually doing, what support we can do on a state level. And that area really needs to be revitalized. As you see in Queens, it looks like a dump. You look across, there's Brooklyn, it's all nicely done. And it's like we've never been able to get the sufficient funding to not only clean it up, but make sure that we have green space. Well, actual good property where we can do this green space for the people in the community, but working hand in hand and making sure that we do get the funding but once we get that funding, it is actually going towards making sure that these proposals are actually being put into place. We're seeing a lot of issues even with going towards the waterfront, where anytime there is any form of rain, then there's also flooding. There are sewage backups, so there are a lot of issues where we need to be funding infrastructure, and that is one of the biggest concerns. And I know this is a conversation I have ongoing with my Blissville people as well in Long Island City as they're connected. But yes, making sure that we are working with our local organizations and making sure that any funding that we do provide actually gets implemented and the work gets done.
Sort of staying in the environmental realm, someone asked a question about local law 97, which is a city law. And as state legislators, obviously, we wouldn't have enough say in that. But the question they asked is, please comment on local law 97 and if there should be exemptions or delays for certain types of housing. Maybe you can sort of talk about, similar approaches in Albany that you might make to local law 97. Does that work? That's about that, right? No? Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
So local law 97, when it passed, I understand the spirit of it and what the powerful messaging is before that. We need to combat climate change. Absolutely, I'm all for it. However, the issue that is now coming, it's now going to fall on a lot of people in this community that are co-op owners, condo owners, as well as renters. And this is coming from someone that rents in a co-op. And it is a burden of this to make these changes to go fully electric in many of the instances is going to create an increase when it comes to HOA fees, rent for a lot of people, but it's falling on the backs of working people here in this community. Millionaires don't live in these co-ops here in Sunnyside, Woodside, Long Island City, Mascot, and Ridgewood. It is working families. And I don't think it should fall on them. And going into Albany, I know Ed Bronstein has pushed a bill that I've been very supportive of that will allocate any form of support on the state level to make sure that we're not pushing out the people in the community. And that to me is the number one concern is, yes, this law passes and all of a sudden all these fees go up and people cannot afford to live there. There are a lot of people that are on fixed income, a lot of them are seniors, and they're being pushed out. And who else is gonna come in here? But people that do have the money, and that is completely unfair. So I think that on a state level, we have to provide the support if we have to move it a bit, or we have to add funding or figure out a way, because right now, as a city, the bill in itself as a city does not make it clear for how to people to comply without getting hit with these big fees and penalties.
Local law 87 has come a lot on doors, so thankful for this question. The city can't do a lot in terms of funding this, but the state really can. So there is a bill called Bucks for Boilers that is, in Albany now, that would provide resources so that when boilers are, gas bad, polluting boilers need to be replaced, the state can help provide electric boilers and provide those costs up front so that when buildings are going through these conversions, their co-op owners have some assistance and have some backup there. But it is going to take a lot of organizing to make this pass. It's true that every co-op owner that I talk to, everyone agrees with the spirit of Local Law 97. No one is a climate change denier. Everyone wants their building to be climate ready and in compliance with the law. But it is incredibly burdensome for middle class and working class people who live in older buildings, who are on fixed incomes, to put those costs up front themselves. This is exactly where the state can come in. This is exactly where the state can come in to provide tax abatements, tax refunds, or just provide the money up front to replace boilers and to help with the insulation on buildings too. So we can replace these boilers, but if the windows are bad, the insulation is bad, they're not going to be the energy efficient buildings that they need to be. But I think this is exactly, again, where the state can come in to provide resources to make sure that this bill, that Local 107 is passed, or is implemented in the way that it needs to be. Because climate change is here. We need dramatic action if we're going to meet our really ambitious climate mandates here in New York State, and the state has to get behind it.
Okay, so we obviously did not get to all of those audience questions, and hopefully the candidates can stick around a few minutes afterwards and you can ask them yourself. We have one more question, and then we'll get into the closing statements. So for the final question, which we're gonna start with Bob as I'm caught on by the end of this debate. So your campaigns are like pretty squarely representative of the ideological split New York City has seen in the Democratic Party for a long time, but like the specific contours of this, like the past decade. And this sort of split is not going to go away if either of you are elected to office. It's going to show up in policy discussions that you have. It's going to show up in conversations with constituents and voters. So how would you contend with this sort of ideological divide amongst Democrats as an elected official?
This is the question, right? Yeah, so I've said this already in this debate, but I'm a union organizer. My unit members represent vastly different political differences. I represent Republicans, I represent centrist Democrats, I represent all kinds of people in my unit. And I represent them all equally. And when we go to negotiate our contract, we work together because we have a common goal, we have a common purpose. And that's exactly what organizers do. They bridge wide political differences because we have work to do, because we need to move things forward. And that's a skill set that I can bring to Albany. These political differences are going to be in New York State politics for probably a long time. But I do think that when progressives win these campaigns, when we go out and knock doors and talk to people and introduce this broadly popular program of taxing the rich to fund our public goods, of creating a New York that works for all of us, where all of us get to enjoy some of the abundance that we help create, we're moving the window a little bit. We're moving what state politics can look like. That's what we've been trying to do in this campaign, is have real organizing conversations at the door about our vision for what New York State and New York City can be. So these differences exist, they're real. I am confident in my ability to work within those contradictions. And I think in winning this race, we're also demonstrating something else, that people's politics can change, and that we can move people to the progressive side of things.
Thank you.
So to understand your question properly, are you talking about the divide between like progressive Democrats, socialists, is that what you were discussing, right?
Yeah,
So, yeah, I do think there is a clear difference when someone goes in and does say, like my opponent has said, democratic socialist, and then removes it from her literature. Then you have someone that I've been saying I have always identified as a Democrat because I know how diverse this community is, and I am a reflection of that. I want to make sure that no one feels like they won't be unheard, they will not be heard. So I think that even in my general work, I have represented people of every different background, sexual orientation, workers, but also I think that it is very evident that people know that I will be able to represent people of all different backgrounds throughout this district. As you see through my union endorsements, over 25 union endorsements, workers, families, all feel and have felt confident behind me in this campaign because they have seen my work. It is not, do I lean a certain way? No, I'm a Democrat, but I'm here to represent the Democrats as well, but also the different other groups in the community as well. And they even feel comfortable speaking to me. So I think that even being able to maneuver that in Albany, I have no problem. I have one-on-one conversations with people on different part of the spectrum when it comes to their political feelings, their political backgrounds, and I think that's something that I have shown. I have been able to listen, I have been effective, so I think that being able to maneuver through these different various groups is one of my strongest assets, and I do think that my work in itself speaks for itself.
We're gonna give Ms. Valdez just 30 seconds first. I mean, if you would like to, I feel like you were invoked in that response in regard to the removing the socialist label from your literature. Would you like to respond?
So I am a Democratic Socialist. I've been endorsed by the Democratic Socialists of America, and that stays on my lit and will always get top billing as well because that organization taught me how to organize. It taught me that I can go out and talk to my neighbors about the things that really matter to us. And that's been the heart and soul of this campaign since day one.
So to be clear, are you saying that it is not true that has been removed from your campaign literature?
The word Democratic Socialist has, but the Democratic Socialists of America endorsement has stayed on. Does that make sense?
Yes. No.
Is there a reason why?
We'd make design decisions about, changing it up. But proud Democratic Socialist.
Yeah, well, I guess just one ideological question, if you want to take a moment to pursue them. Ideological question for both of you. Just while we're on this topic, I'm wondering, when it comes to being an elected official, do you view it as, do you view the role of an elected official to be governed based on what the people in the district believe or what they believe? Is the official being entrusted to use their best judgment on the issues instead? Ms. Valdez, if you could answer that.
I think it's a little bit of both, right? In electing somebody and casting a vote and putting your faith in somebody, you're saying that this person's political ideas, political trajectory aligns with mine. At the same time, I think what excites me most about the idea of being a representative is having an open door office, is having an office that is very much present in the district, that is using our office as an organizing space, is using it to have town halls, to do public education around different bills, and to take in information from the community too. It has to be a back and forth. State representatives are they're one person. They represent 100,000 more constituents. So it has to be a back and forth. It has to be about sharing information. It has to be about shifting priorities as needed. But I think your elected representatives are elected to lead too. You're putting your trust and your faith in them, and you're asking them to carry your voice and your vision to Albany with them. And so it is a little bit of both. But I intend for my office to be very much open door, to be aggressively doing constituent services, education in the community, town halls, making sure that people's voices are with us too.
Mr. Romano.
For me, it's all about listening to this community. I think that going up to Albany, the community wants to have someone that they can trust, that they know will vocalize for them, not follow what a group of individuals tells them. I think that is what every single voter in this community feels. And especially, I think that knowing that you're independent and you know the issues of the community because you live them yourself, and knowing that the work that you've put, the amount of, even seeing the people here in the crowd, how many different events or rallying we've done behind one neighbor or the other, and having that reflect up as an elected official in Albany. Yes, I think overall, I will not be persuaded by anyone else but the people in this community, the community that has trusted me, and the community that has raised me.
All right, we have time for one more audience question. So, I'll read the question. That's correct. Our district has suffered disproportionately from the COVID-19 surge in the spring of 2020, partially due to decades of hospital closures. How would you push for a more resilient health system in the district?
Oh, we don't have a hospital in this district. Like, we absolutely don't. The closest is Mount Sinai or Elmhurst, which is a trauma 1 level hospital. And even just speaking from experience and going to both of them, we really do need something here in this district. And like Elmhurst is great. It caters to a lot of people. And that is unfair because now we see a bunch of urgent cares coming up, but we need to have, my dream would to have like 3 hospitals here. Like, I think that is far-fetched, but definitely pushing towards a hospital in this district would be one of like my dreams come true. Because I do think that it is necessary, but it also comes with affordable health care. So we have to talk about that if we're gonna discuss that as well. But yeah, I definitely think we need, I would love to have a hospital here. The fact that we don't have one, or the fact that we have to travel for, or a lot of people say they'll go into the city, especially in desperate situations or emergencies. And I'm saying from someone that saw that even her mother that suffered a stroke, she needed immediate care, and then there was St. John's Hospital. But I think, yeah, we need to be reinvesting and figuring out how we can get a hospital into this district.
Agree, we need a hospital in this district. And I'll say too, in Ridgewood, I live maybe 5 or 6 blocks away from Wyckoff Hospital, and throughout the early days of 2020, you just heard the sound of sirens over and over and over again. It was very clear that our community was being decimated by COVID. We do need more hospitals. We need a hospital in this district. And we need healthcare that's available to everyone. I'm a strong believer in the New York Health Act, universal healthcare for everyone, regardless of your employment status, your citizenship status, your ability to pay. This is a fundamental human right. And New York State has the resources to make this a reality. This has long been broadly popular among people who desperately just need healthcare. Right now what we're funding is health insurance, and it's not health care. We can make this a reality in our lifetimes. I say this too as somebody who's watched family members almost die because they didn't have health care. It's a tragedy that no one should have to face. So if we're thinking about, yes, we need the hospital infrastructure in place in this district, and we need the health care and not health insurance that goes along with it, we can make universal health care for all a reality.
All right, with that, we will have closing statements. Closing statements will be 1 minute each. Ms. Valdez, you have 1 minute.
Thank you all again for being here this evening. Thank you for your questions. Thank you to our moderators. I'm running for office because Queens can't wait. We can't wait for a representative who we hope will do the right thing when they go to Albany. We can't wait to end this system that privileges Wall Street and real estate over working families. We can't wait to seriously address the climate crisis, the housing crisis, or healthcare crisis. We need someone who's going to go there fight for taxing the rich, for building back our public institutions, to stand up against Hopewell when she makes these unilateral decisions around congestion pricing and who knows what else is coming down the pike. We need someone who's going to go and be a champion for working people. And I know that I can be that person because this campaign has always been about grassroots energy, always been about mobilizing people's deep belief in a New York that works for everyone. This has always been about small dollar donations, rejecting the corporate PACs that have, endangered our affordable housing, endangered our public schools for far too long. And if elected, I look forward to working with you all to realize this dream.
Thank you. Ms. Carmona, you have 1 minute.
Thank you all. I am so excited that today happened. I'm excited for this campaign and the strength of what this campaign has shown. The outpouring support of this community, the outpouring support of unions, the outsupporting of the immense amount of support from education, because people have put their faith in me to run a campaign that focuses on the people in the community, working families, knowing that they have someone that has the skill set to go write pragmatic legislation, bring funding to this community that we so desperately need, not a talking point from a group or an ideology. All just seems consistent. You hear over and over again, it is not about the community, it's about an ideology. And for me, that is not the case. For me, you vote for me, it's because I'm gonna be working for you. And that has always been my message. Everyone knows how this community, how indebted I feel to this community and how passionate I am about uplifting others and those that feel voiceless. So thank you so much.
Aquí tenemos a Carmona de cerca. Tenemos a Carmona de cerca.
Bueno, ¿de dónde viene? ¿De Jackson Heights?
Tú eres colombiana.
Sí.
Te
Gracias.
voy a decir algo y te lo voy a decir en video aunque te ofenda. Quizás te pueda ofender. Pero te parece un poquito, te hace un aire a...
¿De quién?
Te hace un aire a Catalina Cruz.
Ay, ¿de verdad? No, yo admiro mucho a Catalina.
Te hace un aire a ella.
Ella es buena trabajadora.
Están los candidatos hablando con su público. Esta es la parte final del video. Y hablando con su público ahí. Mírala ahí, hablando con su público. Hablando con su público ahí. Está Carmona con su público. Está la otra con su público.
I did see you there, but like all the way in the back.
What kind of Democrat are you? Are you centrist, socialist? What kind of Democrat are you?
Democratic Socialist.
Socialist?
Democratic Socialist, yeah.
Okay. Well, that doesn't mean communist, right?
So my Democratic Socialism comes from my union. So I believe that,
But that doesn't mean communist.
I can't hear you.
Communist, comunista. En español, comunista.
I'm a Democratic Socialist. That's what I am, period.
Huh?
I'm a Democratic Socialist. That's it.
But not communist.
Democratic Socialist. Yeah.
Okay. Are you in favor of communists or against?
I don't know if I feel ready to answer that question, but
No te puedes seguir ahí, pues. ¿Qué clase de demócrata es usted? What kind of Democrat are you?
what kind of Democrat? I say
Yeah, there's so
Democrat that
many.
represents
You want me
everyone.
to tell you the type of Democrats? You mentioned it over there.
Sí, soy una demócrata que representa a todos en esa comunidad.
O sea, es comunista, socialista, es centrista, es
Progresista.
extrema derecha, extrema izquierda.
Progresista ni un extremo, no soy parte de ningún extremo. Progresista definitivamente, pero una demócrata que quiere representar a todos acá en la comunidad.
Ok, entonces porque en Estados Unidos no queremos el comunismo, no queremos otra Venezuela, otra Cuba, otra Rusia, no queremos nada de eso acá en Estados
Por eso estoy
Unidos.
corriendo contra una socialista en ese momento, de Texas, que vino acá hace 5 años.
Okay. People forgot the United States is a secular democracy. You have the right to have a religion, you have the right not to have a religion. But, for example, you got the extreme right. They want to put laws all in favor of religions. Or the extreme left, anyway. But my question is like, we have a religious holiday. We need to have a like atheist holiday, for example, human and state. We need a human and state in the state or the city. Because I'm atheist. And I know a lot of atheists, maybe in your district, but throughout the state. So, you see, he likes the question, right?
He wants to answer it. Miguel, tal vez que una gente entre y have to say provide us something.
¿No puede contestar?
Sí, yo creo que la pregunta es if we
Que
have
si hacemos un día de human and state. Sí, como tienen el día de los...
como una reflexión de todos que no tienen religión, sí tienen religión.
Sí.
Podemos ver qué proposiciones se pueden hacer, porque ¿por qué no? Si todos estamos celebrando tantos grupos.
Sí, porque celebramos el día de los Christmas, que es cristiano.
Okay.
El día del but anyway.
No, gracias.
Okay, you understand my question, right? Because you say...
All I'm going to say is Joanna's going to fight tooth and nail for all her constituents.
And you're going to be the voice for
Whether
that.
you're an atheist, whether you're a religion, whether you're Jewish, Christian, Muslim, Joanna has your back. Joanna lived in this district her whole life. Joanna wants to serve. Joanna's not trying to amplify a DSA agenda. She just wants to serve her district. And that's Joanna. To me.
Thank you.
That's Joanna to me.
Thank you.